Standing inside that dimly lit lodge with the sharp scent of old beer hanging in the air, I listened in dead silence as my father practically spat his words across the counter. He was an ex-colonel named Arthur who measured human worth strictly by blood and combat boots, and tonight he was holding court with his prized young Navy SEAL Brandon. Looking straight into my eyes with a smirk, my father scoffed to the room that I was nothing more than an Air Force desk jockey pushing computer files from a bunker, casually adding that terrorists would never fear a daughter like me. Brandon did not laugh with him, standing stiff as stone because he recognized the shadow behind my calm expression, while my father laughed at his own cruel joke. Arthur had spent my entire life dividing humanity into legendary fighters and useless paper pushers, turning every single family dinner into a loud monologue about his glorious infantry days. I had learned early on to play the quiet clerk, keeping my head down and whispering about basic paperwork whenever he asked what fake battles I had fought from my desk. He proudly placed Brandon's glossy military photo right on the living room fireplace mantel next to his shiny medals, while my high honors degree sat forgotten in a cardboard box up in the attic. In his small mind, I was just the unimportant background noise supporting real men who did the actual dirty work, completely unaware of the shadow life I led underground. My actual reality existed deep beneath the earth in a silent tactical ops room illuminated only by dozens of glowing blue command monitors. That was where 3-star generals stood behind my chair in absolute silence, relying entirely on my decisions to guide elite covert teams through dangerous high-stakes combat zones across the globe. During one critical midnight operation, our primary satellite feed suddenly went completely dark, and our strike team on the ground was about to walk blindly right into a deadly mountain ambush. In that terrifying pulse-pounding moment, I overrode standard protocol, rerouted a hidden drone feed, and redirected the entire squad to safety with cool precision. When the dust settled and the team escaped, General Vance patted my shoulder and quietly addressed me by my legendary battlefield call sign, Valkyrie. My father worshipped physical medals and loud combat stories, never imagining that the quiet daughter he ridiculed was actually commanding the top secret operations that saved dozens of operators' lives. Driving home through the quiet streets that night, my father's insults echoed in my head, but Brandon's terrified expression was what truly solidified my next deliberate move. Instead of wasting my breath on another pointlessness shouting match, I logged into our high-security military terminal and added Arthur and Brandon to the classified guest list for an upcoming ceremony. The annual Joint Special Operations Award Gathering was a strictly classified event where unspoken heroes were recognized behind closed doors. When the official invitation arrived at my father's home, he called me booming with arrogance, convinced beyond a shadow of a doubt that his favorite young SEAL was being honored for bravery. On the day of the event, Arthur strutted into the icy, sterile auditorium like he owned the place, proudly nodding at high-ranking officers in the front row seats. Sitting right beside him, Brandon looked utterly pale and terrified, recognizing the immense weight of the room and sensing that something was terribly wrong with the entire situation. From the side of the stage in my plain Air Force uniform, I watched my father offer me a patronizing wave, still believing I was merely there to pass out water cups. General Vance stepped up to the podium and began recounting Operation Nightfall, describing a chaotic mission where a ground squad was saved from an impossible trap by one brilliant remote strategist. As the general detailed how a single calm voice saved an entire unit from total destruction, Brandon's face drained of all color as he relived the exact night he almost died. He stared directly at me with wide, disbelieving eyes, suddenly connecting the dots and realizing that the legendary strategist who saved his life was sitting right in his mentor living room. General Vance then looked straight across the room at me, officially announcing to the entire audience that Captain Chloe Jensen was the true mastermind known as Valkyrie. Brandon instantly bolted to attention at full rigidity, while hundreds of top-tier officers stood up and filled the cold room with a deafening round of applause. My father's face collapsed into complete horror as he watched the highest-ranking leaders in the military cheer for the daughter he had spent years dismissing as a useless clerk. Arthur sat frozen like a broken statue, unable to process the absolute truth as I walked up the steps to accept the highest honor in front of his heroes. After the ceremony ended, decorated commanders lined up to shake my hand, openly praising the tactical brilliance that brought their best operators back home alive. Brandon stepped forward with deep humility, quietly saluting me and thanking me for saving his life on the battlefield, completely ignoring my stunned father who watched from a distance. A full year passed after that explosive afternoon, and I was promoted to major, running high-level operations out of a sunny airfield command office. My father's opinion no longer held any weight over my life, replaced by the deep mutual respect of the elite teams who trusted my judgment with their lives every single day. One evening, a brief email from my father popped up on my screen, full of clumsy military terms asking for technical details about my advanced command equipment. He was not reaching out to apologize or connect, but simply trying to analyze my authority, so he could find a way to fit my success into his own ego. I smiled softly at the message, feeling no remaining anger, and clicked the archive button without bothering to type out a single word of response. I turned my attention back to the massive runway outside, knowing that real strength is not measured by loud boasts, but by the quiet lives we protect in the dark.